we've had good weather and bad weather. Very, very unpredictable weather. Normally here at, in this area, we get our frost, 2-day frost in July, the first 2 days of July. This year we got it the first week of June, which really messed us up. It's very chilly, more chillier than the other winters. We never really get, such chilly winters, but hey, what can we say? It's climate change.
In our project, I think global warming, even here in Mnamezi, though we started this year, but we could feel that, it affected us, greatly. And we had also a problem because now all of a sudden you don't have rain, it's very hot, and your spinach wilts because of this, the scorching sun that, we get at times. And sometimes now it's vice versa. You find that when it rains now, it rains forever.
And when you start talking to other people, then you start seeing the odd things that are happening in your own. Come summer, by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you just want to be inside. Things that can grow in sort of like semi-arid kind of environments. I'm also looking more into perennial food, like stuff that you plant there and they stay there. It's affecting not only when I grow, how I grow things, it's affecting what I am growing and what we are eating. I see food security as a potential challenge. It is a challenge right now.
The winters, freezing cold, or sometimes there's such hot days in the middle winter, you got to wear summer clothes. And summer now, very hot, very, very hot, with thunderstorms. That is how it changed, because we never knew, in this little village, we never knew such thunderstorms as lately. When I was a child, the thunder, we hardly heard it.
Research Commission funding. This project was looking to a large extent on adaptation. How are people going to be adapting to climate change? And we often use the word resilience. To what extent are people able to respond to the shocks or the difficulties or the challenges caused by climate change?
Climate change is what we call an event-driven phenomenon. So it's not about the average, all the rain that falls in the course of a whole year, but how do the different rainfall events look like? How much rain within one event, and how often does it rain? Those are the more critical issues for us. How climate change is going to affect the different communities, and the assets and the amount of water that they will have available in the future, and what the problems might be around agriculture and yield and water quality. Everyone will be affected by climate change in a different way. So there's a variety of impacts and a variety of vulnerabilities that will be created through climate change. And in South Africa, we mustn't forget that our societies and our sectors are already vulnerable to a certain extent, based on that we're in a developing country, based on that we're a water scarce country anyway, based on the fact that we are sub-arid in many parts. What I want to say is the biophysical part and information is one part. We need to understand how vulnerable our people and our sectors and activities are already as per today, and then projecting climate change, that comes on top of everything, and how does that then affect the future?
Scientific work has been used to feed into a form of adaptation that is largely of top-down. But what's really needed is to begin to see adaptation as community-based adaptation that looks and considers how people are experiencing climate change and what they can do about it.
We've taken scientific information, scientific data around likely climate change impacts and presented those to the communities and what that might mean for the people who live there in terms of planning around climate change. And so we're working with these questions and trying to understand how people are currently using water, relating to water, dependent on water, and what that means in terms of their livelihoods in the future.
Help us agree on the remedies, on the remedial methods of trying to stop this or trying to advise the local community on how to protect themselves against these things. Climate change and so-called global warming, how it affects our lives and how we can maybe try and understand and try to live with.
Uyayibona zonke lezo zinto ezinjalo izona ezisithinta thina ngqo emphakathini, so ithina futhi kufanele sisukumeke sibheke ukuthi sishintsha kanjani.
I don't know if maybe it's or the government is not doing, is doing little about it, because people really are not aware of this global warming and climate change and the effects, the long-term effects that it has on us, on the communities.
We looked at what is climate change, the political economy of climate change, what in human society has led to this massive anthropogenic climate change. We looked at those kind of major global issues. Then we looked at what can we say about South Africa, what can we say about the Western Cape. And people found that very, very interesting and empowering, because people have heard this phrase climate change, people have noticed changes, and people found it very helpful and empowering to have that scientific information shared and presented in a way that was accessible.
Sifaka ama-hose pipes iwona aseduzane sikwazi ukuchelela
Nokubulala ke ihlahla njengobona lesa sihlahla esiwile ihlahla lezi ezisinikeza oxygen nalo kuba ingozi.
I want to see young people as part of that answer, not just providing for their family, but also being able to provide for the country.
What we did was we got modelling information from modelers at UKZN, climate hydrology modelers. What they based it on was information from weather stations of the past temperature and rainfall data. And when we came and presented what was the kind of picture for the last, I think 40 years for Goedverwacht in terms of temperature and rainfall, the participants said, that information's wrong. That's not at all what it's like in our area. The rainfall is much higher. We don't get that cold. When we tried to find out where the weather station was, it's quite far from here. And there's a microclimate. It's really close to the mountains. It's a small valley, huddled close to the mountains. And so people in Goedverwacht found that quite interesting, and they actually were quite delighted. And so what we've been doing here today is that we brought rain gauges, thermometers, and some soil pH and moisture meters, and climate diaries. And people in Goedverwacht are going to be embarking on a journey of monitoring and keeping close observation of their weather.
It's local people who will feel the effects of climate change most directly and most dramatically. So one question is whether we can use the scientific information usefully at a local level, if local people can access and use information from the scientists while gathering and using and providing their own information.
And what came out of our climate change adaptation workshops was that people really feel that in order to adapt and in order to be resilient to these changes coming, they need to have more secure land tenure, they need to have a more secure sense of governance.
Ons probleem is dat hulle kan nie die individuele boere finansier nie omdat hy nou 'n kontrak gehad het nie. Maar intussen is daar 'n ander probleem wat ontstaan want die waterregte wat elke boer het moet betaal word. Nou niemand gaan iets betaal as daar nie 'n kontrak in plek is nie. Jy sien so die een lei tot die ander een se probleem.
En nou is Goedverwacht ook 'n eksempel van 'n gemeenskap waarmee ons werk. So dis baie goed vir ander gemeenskappe te sien wat julle besig is om te doen, hoe ons verhouding werk en hoe ons hier werk.
Themba lokuthi uzothi masekunetha abantu bahlangane one ngenxa yokuthi kuze sikwazi ukuthi si-adapte kule simo sezulu esikhona.
That the real process was about the relationship between the facilitating NGO and the community. That as a start we would do these climate change adaptation workshops, but that we would try in every way possible to continue our relationship afterwards. In terms of the broader stakeholders and what they can do, it's just being open to think differently, being open to working creatively with local communities, to hearing from local communities what they are already excited about and wanting to do, and creating a supportive and receptive environment for those things, and being aware that one of the most important things for building resilience is actually building these relationships between citizens, communities and decision makers.
Scientific information needs to be brought down to the local level and to interact with the experience, the lived experiences of people in coping with climate variability.
Because it's not only affecting us, but it's going, if we don't do anything about it, it's also going to affect our future generation.
In its climate change policy, its use of resources, its decision making, the South African state needs to take account of people's lived experiences on the ground.
Thank you.